Mama, we made it. What it do, dog? Hello, everybody.
Get it.
Welcome back.
Welcome to the Mama We Made It podcast.
Whew, you little rascals, you.
We got another special guest.
Another special guest, a fellow Trojan.
A fellow Trojan.
We got the Three Musketeers of Trojans.
Oh, we do.
That's crazy.
Is that a first?
That is a first.
It might be, yeah.
Making history.
Yeah. No, that is a first.
Making history's good.
Making history.
History has been made, folks. I'm D'Artagnan.
Are we recording, by the way? I've heard.
Yes,
we're
we
recording.
are.
Oh, we're
Yes.
recording.
Yeah, we're recording. We're recording.
Hey, no, look, you like that? Like the mole comes in, like does the research, knows the episodes to spot on about.
Yeah, he knows.
We are definitely recording. We have only misfired shots a few times, but shit, that's what makes it real,
Sometimes
baby.
you got to do a run through. You got to do a run through. Well, we got my brother, Anush's brother,
From another,
the world's brother,
my
my man Ely Alexander, Mr. Retrospec himself.
Good to be here.
What it do?
Great to be here.
Give it up for Eli.
Round of applause of two.
Just the echo makes it sound big.
The echo makes it sound gorgeous. What it do, baby?
How's it going, guys? Good to be here.
It's amazing to have you here.
It's good to be here. Really, you guys are both guys that I admire a lot. Really
Love.
happy to be doing this.
Love. Likewise, bro. Likewise. It's been years since I've seen you. But you haven't changed a damn bit. He still towers over me. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, Eli is coming in at 7'8", fellas.
I swear.
I'm getting taller, and your energy is getting bigger. That's what I feel.
It's getting
It is.
bodacious.
You are the same, but just you are a bigger energy.
Well, he was bigger, but about a month ago, lost like 29 pounds.
Your boy dropped like damn near 30 pounds in the last 2 months.
He dropped 30 pounds.
So you would have seen me
Congratulations,
bigger.
man. That's
Thank
not
you,
easy.
brother. Appreciate
That's huge.
You would have seen me bigger personality and blimpy big too. But hey, now we out here just gorgeously thugging real quick.
So how do you guys know each other?
USC.
Mutual friends.
Yeah.
And then we had our first business encounter together.
Talk to me, bro.
Right?
Talk to me. Let me know.
Sitting in business administration, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, yeah?
Yeah.
And how did it come up?
I don't know what happened exactly, right? But I remember that I was working at AT&T at the time.
Yes.
It was singular at the time.
It was AT&T. It was AT&T, yeah.
Right?
You were working for a reseller store.
No. I was working for a corporate store. Don't take me there. So you were on the Silk Road and you were selling knockoff cell phones.
So when you were running AT&T.
No, see, not even running. See, no, he bitch slapped my ego and then he put me up on Willy Wonka's elevator real quick. He was like, "Shit, I kind of knocked him down. Let me bring him all the way back up." So you were the CEO of AT&T. So look, you know who I really was at AT&T? I was the kid that literally was working part-time Friday through Sunday, right? I got put into that job because I lied in my interview, said I had hella experience. I worked at Best Buy for a month in the transition just to learn the cell phone game.
We've all done it. Yeah.
So, and I was like always like kind of late, like 10, 15 minutes because like I'd be up till 6 in the morning the night before. Just like, wow, I remember actually going to UCSB for Halloween and then having to come to work the next day. So me in my little fucking Tarzan skirt, just lit as shit, woke up at 4:30, drove back, ran into work. But regardless.
The good old days.
Good old days. But in that job, you had to like learn how to scheme a little bit. You know what I mean? It's sales at the end of the day. So the big cats had this like operating system that they had changed, but they still knew like the Cuddy codes and like the ways at 6 months to change your code.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To get the credit for it, but it wouldn't affect the previous guy, so there wouldn't be any like inquiries. And like I came up on all these different things and like, you know, found the postal service discount. Put it on my mom's shit.
Next
Put
thing
it
you
on
know,
the
I was a
homies.
mailman.
Yeah. So Eli being the enterprising young man that he is as well, finds his way to a scheme. You know what I mean? And had to bring it up. And like, I was just like, yeah, let's run it. Like, I got you. Let's go. And so Eli had, I don't know if you still have his shit, but Eli had the Postal Service discount, which was like what? 35% off
Something
the bill,
like that.
50% off accessories, just like
whatever it was.
fun.
It was a college student million. That's what it was. That's what I was saving every month.
I'm glad we got to share in the treasure trove.
So you're a mailman.
Yeah,
Mailman. That's great.
Retired mailman. I've moved on.
Yep.
Dude, I know this dude from. We went to Birthright together.
Respect.
Or the first trip to Israel was that like 2007.
That was 2007, summer 2007.
Dude, I saw.
Oh wow! So this was while you were at.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably met you guys very close in time to each other and had no idea.
It's crazy because we had no idea then either.
Right. I should have introduced you guys.
Shit.
Yeah, it was a little before we met, a couple years.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't playing in New Kingdom yet. I was in a band, but not New Kingdom yet.
Right.
It's epic.
And we met. We met at the airport. Saw this dude. He saw me. We didn't talk. Then we got room together. And then after that, it was just like we just hit it off.
So it was the oldest motherfucker on Birthright and the youngest.
I was the oldest dude. Yeah.
The ages on that trip, it's a trip for 18 to 26-year-olds.
Yeah.
I think you were around 26, 25, 26?
I was 25. Yeah.
You were 25. I was like a fresh 18. So really, I mean,
and I had no clue because this dude's a giant. This dude's a giant with a beard at 18.
We hit it off on day one.
Nice.
And by the end of the trip, which was like 10 days, I mean, for that whole time, I was begging Joe, like, just please stay here longer.
So
like,
this was crazy, dude. So I
Yeah.
actually had a flight. So you pay for your flight there and back round trip. And I had my flight scheduled back. So the whole trip, and we partied that whole time. We had a fantastic experience.
Amazing time.
A lot of other stuff too, just seeing the country and everything.
Yeah.
But so on the trip back, he's like, dude, you got to stay. He was staying. So he's like, you got to stay. And we get to the airport, and last minute, I'm like, fuck it, I'm not getting on. So, and I didn't even have that much money on me, like at all. I think I borrowed money from this dude, and we had some friends that like were staying at a hotel that night, crashed with them. Then we went back to the hotel that we stayed on the trip.
That's right. That became home base.
We
left bags there. We'd go on overnight trips. We went like camping on the river thing.
That was
wild.
And that home base though, we just got like, we just kind of thugged it with them. We were just like so cool with them.
It was like $20 a night ahead.
We worked out this crazy deal where they were just like, all right, yeah, you can stay here. We're like, can we also just leave our bags here for a few days? So like, we'll just leave it in the laundry room. But and then we just traveled the country. We like took buses, did some cool shit. Did camping on the lake. Did a bunch of stuff.
How was that experience for you guys?
Life changing.
So like,
came home with a new brother.
That's lit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
real.
That's lit.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we've been close friends ever since, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy how trips like that really bond people, especially when you get the chance to like, because I feel like you're on a trip going back to the homeland, right? And then you're already excited, like, you know what, like, let me just go experience this. This is being offered to us. I think it's the greatest thing ever, the Birthright trip.
Yeah.
Even if some people see it as like, you know, yeah, go find your husband and wife. And like the families are kind of like, yeah, go on.
What we went on, ours, I mean, there was the element of that, but ours, like, low key was the party trip.
Bro, high key, you get the dudes that go on that are like, let's just rock out in Israel. And you go to do that.
But ours was like branded as...
You find a grandfather in training, and you find a young, like, 18-year-old fresh ready to get it, and they thug it out. It's like bad grandpa. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
No, but what was the experience like in was that your guys' first time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for y'all?
Oh, man. It was crazy. The traveling, seeing the country, you know, I'm not a religious dude.
Yeah, Joe. I want to hear. I want to hear you talk about your impression of the land before this trip and why you waited until then to take this almost free trip.
Yeah, shame
and
on
then
you.
Because like
Totally
there's a
kidding.
reason why it took that long and then like what you left with.
Yeah, look, I'm not a religious dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up Jewish. I was bar mitzvah. I went to Hebrew school. I did all that. But I'm not like...
It wasn't a big part of your life in your 20s.
No, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
But
still not.
It was getting down to the wire of it, and I knew that I had an opportunity to do this, and it was basically a free trip.
Word.
And
And it's bigger than you, right? Israel's been there forever.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it was called, whoever was there, it's been there forever.
Yeah.
It's much bigger than me or you.
And I don't even know if I'll ever go back, just
Yeah.
because that's kind of like it's so far away.
Yeah.
And it's such a part of like Jewish history.
Yeah.
And just aside from that, it was just a really good opportunity to step in. And what you hear about Israel in the media is like totally not what it is when you get there.
Yeah.
It's when you get there, you realize everyone there is pretty much just like you. Everyone's partying. I mean,
Even in uniform.
even in uniform. We had some soldiers on our trip, which was really cool.
Yeah, we did.
Epic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did, Joe.
I had a little lady friend. Yeah.
The lady soldier.
Lady soldier.
I respect G.I. Jane in this.
But you learn a lot about your roots there.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing that kind of overtakes you. And you do feel kind of among this community there. But it was so cool. It wasn't like anything I expected. I mean, just great food, great people. Tel Aviv is just awesome. It's like Miami of the Middle East.
Dope.
Totally.
And the country itself is gorgeous. Like there's parts that are identical to Malibu. There's it's just awesome and it's such a friendly vibe. So all the stuff you hear about, so much conflict there and everything.
Yeah.
You just don't feel it unless you're really there. But
Yeah.
I didn't really feel it,
Right.
I mean, we went to a couple iffy places.
Yeah, no, we did. But, I mean, generally speaking, like you're living everyday life there and, people just go on. And I think there's something to learn there for sure.
Oh,
Absolutely.
there's definitely something.
I mean, I
there.
think for like when I'm a dual citizen to Iran and the United States.
Oh, no shit.
So a big part of my parents is like the majority of my family, and my mom has 5 sisters and 2 brothers, and my dad has 2 sisters and a brother. And my grandparents were out there, like all my aunts and uncles were out there. There's only 2 that are not in Iran, and one of them I'd met at the time. So for my parents, it was a big deal of like going back to Iran and making sure you see the family before, they're getting older. My grandpa was like 86, 85 at the time.
Right.
But one of the biggest things that they had to figure out for me was the army stuff, because since I was a dual citizen, they had to work out that like make sure that if I went back, I wasn't gonna have to be thrown into 2 years of army.
Yes.
Interesting.
Right. So they had to pay an amount and figure out all these things and get the assurances. Crazy thing about my dad is that like probably 5-10 years before that trip, he found out that he was off the list of being executed when he came in for like joining or just like attending a conference or like a rally when he was in college against the Khomeini at the time.
Right.
Wow.
So he couldn't see his family for like 25, 30 years.
That's insane.
But I went there and, in high school, and that's a big thing for, I feel like any family of foreign descent to like want their children to go back home and experience what they kind of were raised in, or even just like the land in and of itself if they're happen to be 2nd or 3rd generation.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a special experience for sure. And then connecting with Eli, I mean, we were road dogs there.
Road dogs.
And actually, I had even more fun when we were just traveling
Absolutely.
outside the group.
Absolutely.
Because there's this, it was just, I don't know, you just immerse yourself in the culture.
Yeah. I mean, how long did we sit on that kayak in the river for, just like talking?
Yeah, it's
Just
crazy.
talking. I mean,
just like
sunrise to sunset. I mean, that was
wild.
yeah.
it's insane. It's just insane. Like the things you experience there. I just remember laying in like the Mediterranean Sea, being like, I'm so far from work right now. Like I can't do shit right now other than lay here and stare at the fucking sun.
Yeah.
In this warm water.
There had to just be so
And
much
then
freedom there.
we're gonna go eat some shawarma and smoke some hash.
Respect.
And that was life. It was so awesome. And then on top of that, there's the culture of Israel. But anyway, long story short, that's how I met this dude. And Eli has also been like a mentor. That's the thing too. This fucking 18-year-old, he's not 18 anymore, but this guy, I only look at him. You know when you meet someone and they're permanently
18 years
18?
old, by the way.
He's just 18. Like I don't even know. What are you, 26 now?
I'm 28.
20. See, I don't like. You're 18, bro. You're fucking. You're 18. I'm stuck in a time warp with him. But when I started my business, he's been such a huge mentor.
Yeah.
It's more like, I mean, we're friends, but someone who has the business acumen, who's gone through that, who kind of sees things in that light. And it's not even, my industry is so different than what he's even been, but it's just a different sense of how you see the world. He's been such a huge support and soundboard throughout my journey of building a business. And we've gone through some crazy talks about that shit. And I've watched him build his too. And it's go from nothing to what it is now.
I want to do a Wonder Years like time warp real quick. Shout out to Kevin Savage. I hope his name is Kevin Savage.
Kevin Savage, bro?
I don't fucking know. Something Savage. Regardless, that I looped myself there. No, but were you always an LA native?
Yes, born and raised.
Born and raised in LA.
So I grew up in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And as we talked about before the interview, I hated high school. I left high school when I was like 15. Okay. I started going to college at SMC.
What was it about high school?
Which is insane at 15?
Yeah.
At 15?
Yeah. High school is very structured, and it didn't work for me.
Okay.
I think I needed to be in more of a free environment where I could, choose my subjects, have more of like a.
So you had freedom. That like early on.
Yeah. No. When I started college, I was getting dropped off by my dad. Like I was picking my own classes.
Yeah.
And, like waiting up till midnight to like sign up for the class before it gets closed up, figuring out what I had to take to transfer. Right.
It was all you.
Yeah, it was all me. And that was, that was something that I actually had to take in order to convince my parents, because, you're under 18.
Yeah.
They actually made me take summer school. I was thinking about this even earlier, like in 9th grade. They made me take summer school one year at SMC after 9th grade. And they're like, if you can do this and show us that you're ready to do this, then you can make the jump.
Wow. So you, in 9th grade, had this. It's crazy because
I was like, I need to get out of here.
What compelled you though that you needed? Like you're in 9th grade.
That's lit.
Like, I was like low key excited for high school. I'm like, this is great. Like I'm playing sports.
I actually thought about that, taking just graduating early, like my junior year. But like even then, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I want to be with my boys. Like fuck graduating early. Right? What was that in the mind state? Like 9th grade. That's lit. Like what? Because you.
Yeah, I think for me, I knew that I wanted to be more successful even as a student than I was, and I felt like the system was holding me back. I thought that perfect example. My last paper in high school. It's like a 5-paragraph essay.
Yeah.
This paragraph is this.
The intro, the bodies,
and each. Then, like in this paragraph, we need 2 of these sentences and 3.
Yeah.
And I failed it. I don't remember my grade exactly. It was a very low grade.
Yeah.
And first paper in college was a 10-page paper. They said it has to be 10 pages. I'd never written 5 pages before. I was writing 10 now, and there was no structure. There was a prompt, and the prompt was 1 sentence, and it was like write about, pick a theme and write about it for this book, and it was The Kite Runner, actually.
Wow.
Did you read The Kite Runner?
I haven't.
The Kite Runner actually will remind you a lot of your Persian heritage. You should read it. Amazing book.
That was a huge
amazing book. Yeah,
they made a movie about it, right?
You know what book I did read that like gave me that was I read The Alchemist the first time.
Okay, I read that in the same class. That's funny you said that.
Word.
So anyway, so I hand in this essay, my first paper in college, and I get an A. I get the highest grade in the class. And that's like the perfect example of like how that was a better environment for me, where it was like, this is actually a harder task. You're going to have to spend more time doing it, but you can do it however you want. You can structure it however you want. There's less direction.
Were you like that as a kid? Like, was this always a build up to the moment where you just needed to like eject and hit the parachute?
Yeah. I mean, it was always like that as a kid where I definitely had different needs than other kids. I don't know if I was necessarily, I don't know if I was ready for college when I was a kid.
No, yeah.
But I definitely had different needs.
You knew
there
you
was a different way of
else.
communicate with me. There was a different way of getting through to me.
Got it.
And definitely a different like environment where I could learn and be productive.
Got it.
Yeah, I've always known that about myself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's incredible that like you've been that self-aware.
Yeah.
And even in times where, you know what I'm saying, being that young, you don't really know what to like define it as or what to say about it, but you just know that there was something that was different.
Yeah, I mean, I have the equivalent of that today. I know today that I get my best work done when I'm traveling. I do my best thinking when I'm traveling. I'm more productive on the road than at work.
Wow.
And it's isolation. It's getting out of the office, getting away from home. Not that like anybody here is like, it's like, it feels heavy or anything like that, but like just being in my own head for a few days and, being on a plane, being stuck in a hotel room where it's a different time zone, there's no one to call, and you're forced to just think and dwell on the same ideas for a long time. I always whether it's a successful trip or not, I always come home with something fresh.
Got it.
And I think that's like the parallel of like, how, I had a different way of learning.
Did that translate in your adjustment into college, being that you were so much younger? Because like I think one of the biggest things about being younger and going to college is that it's not necessarily the workload, because that can be done if the mind is trained that way. But
absolutely.
The environment, like socially.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think what a lot of parents are most scared about with their kids is like, we don't even think you'll be able to party like that, but what will that do to your psyche?
Right.
But also think about being a kid.
To be a kid in college.
I was scared of the seniors.
Yeah.
Like college. Like, hell no.
That's exactly.
Awesome.
Like, was that like a factor, or how'd that kind of play out for you in terms of like being able to, I don't want to say assimilate,
it was a factor. It was a factor for sure. It wasn't so heavy. It wasn't the first thing on my mind. But in every situation, I almost felt like I had something to explain or prove. If it was like rushing for my fraternity, I'm rushing for a fraternity. I'm 16 years old.
Like, what was that like?
By the way, I graduated college at 20. I never had a legal drink in college.
That's insane.
So, I mean, there was definitely a lot of moments where guys are using words that I've never heard. And like, I mean, I'm literally like, I still had my high school friends, and now I'm like, it was crazy. It was crazy.
How'd you make that transition? You went
socially.
15, you went to SMC.
I went to SMC.
How many years there?
I'm there for a year.
And then you got to, because they can do that at that age. You can get like a GED or something.
Yeah, I took a CHSPE, which is different than a GED. A GED is, I think, like when you drop out of high school, but then later on in life, you want to get, the high school equivalent or whatever. A CHSPE you can only take before you're 18, and it's like, it's basically the employers have to treat it as like an equivalent to a high school degree. Like you basically like pass out of high school, but I hate to say that because it's a really easy test. Okay. It's not. I didn't study for it for 1 minute, and that's not because I'm smart. That's not
this guy.
That's not.
He actually was traveling from New York to LA when he took the test.
No, I think most people like halfway through high school could pass it.
Word.
And that's sad actually, because like that's the standard that the state holds our education to.
Absolutely.
And then you just applied traditionally to USC?
I applied as a transfer as a sophomore from SMC. So I got to
so
SC,
you bypassed like SATs and all that stuff?
Yeah, I never took my SATs, never took my ACTs. By the way, that was the mailman discount, right? Yeah. Because I'm not a good test taker. I could write essays for days. I could write, but I don't take tests well. I never had to take the SATs, ACTs.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Right.
All right, so you go to USC.
Did you know what you wanted to study when you got to USC? Were you
I got to USC and I was studying philosophy.
Okay.
And I loved philosophy.
Got it.
I loved philosophy at SMC, and that was a great thing about this whole experience is that I got to SMC and I got to pick my classes. I'm taking a lot of philosophy and psychology rather than like the generic classes that you take in high school.
Yeah.
And that's how I figured out what I love. Get to USC and I take a few more philosophy classes and I'm loving it, but I'm like, at this point, I'm like halfway through college. I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life?
Wow.
Right? Because like,
how do you even have that thought?
Dude, how old were you at that
philosophy
point when you had that thought?
Yeah.
18.
Yeah, so he reaches 18.
I'm 18. I'm like,
college.
what am I going to do with philosophy when I'm done? And a lot of people do philosophy to go to law school.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, and that's cool.
Or lie to themselves enough to like, tell themselves that they're
and I didn't want to do that.
Word.
I didn't want to do that. So I enrolled in the real estate development urban planning school. and started to learn about that, which was really cool. Urban planning and sustainability, and like how cities grow and how we accommodate for growth so that, not every street looks like the 405 at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was really cool. And, again, get to the end of college. I'm 20. I'm having so much fun. And I'm like, I'm not ready to go. This is too good.
And what's it like being in a frat but being that young?
Yeah, I was a kid in a candy store. It was good.
It.
Yeah, it was good.
But here's the thing, though.
I couldn't move out. It was too good.
Yeah.
But this is the thing with Eli. Your height does make a difference here because you're not walking. I'm telling you,
fucking giant.
You're not walking into
people that are listening to this are gonna think I'm 9 feet tall.
You're
9 feet tall.
You're literally
any human being looks at you. You're 12 feet 7 inches.
I'm 6'5". Okay.
Exactly. Hey, told you so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Eli. Thank you for helping us. But it's not like walking into college as a little pipsqueak sophomore. Like I think when I was like in freshman year, I was like 5'5" or something, like with like just getting armpit hair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but you're in there, and you could easily pass for a normal college kid just based on your size. That's
Straight 18-year-old.
Yeah,
Got it.
that's interesting. But that's wild. Just
That's epic, bro.
kind of bypassing high school to and then jumping right into the frat life.
Hey, let me ask you something though, because a lot of us guys with chickies go through the like, wait, but how old are you? And you may be like 22, and she's like 26, like, ugh, oh my God, you're so young. Like, and those dudes that know, they're like, okay, if it's really a problem, then we shouldn't even be like doing this. You know what I'm saying? But what was it like for the 16, 17-year-old Eli to be in college? Like, yes, you're a kid in a candy store. Did that ever come up? And were you just like, yeah,
you're talking about with girls?
Yeah, like, yeah, baby, I'm 16. What's up?
No, it was more like, how old are you? I'm a freshman.
So he figured the way out. I respect it.
The mailman.
Because, bro, when I went to SMC for 1 year as well, and
Right.
did the USC thing.
Yeah.
And I met this girl, and if you're listening, we need to talk. Regardless. The Ryan Gosling notebook moment. No, but I remember I was like 18, just turned 18, and we kind of started dating, and she was like 25. And she asked me how old I was, and I was like, I just turned 18. Like, on thugness, I was like, what's up, basically.
Right.
And that confidence.
No, I did that too. I did that too.
She was just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, well, you don't act your age. That's awesome. Cool. And I was like, you got a problem? Is that
No,
cool?
that's cool.
And she was like, no, that's great.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it was awesome to see somebody going into USC at 16, like 16, 17, like super glory days in high school. But you got the college population to work with.
God.
Yeah, people always ask me, they're like, didn't you miss prom? And I'll be like, well, I was probably at a frat party that night. Like I was partying at college.
Yeah.
So it was different. I actually did get to go to prom, and I don't think that what I did was right for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not anti high school.
Yeah, but
it
again,
didn't work for me.
But
And
again,
you got to know what works for you.
You knew at that age,
Yeah.
like no normal kid, or like no kid that's just like throwing whims out and throwing
Right.
spitballs at the ceiling, expecting them to stick, is gonna have that urge in the ninth grade.
Yeah.
And be willing to take their parents' test and be like, you got to go here, do this.
Yeah, I had to figure that all
go
out.
do that,
I had to
yeah.
figure that all out.
And also just leaving your friends. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that's probably what would have been tough for me if I was in your position of like,
Yeah, I mean,
how could I would just be like scared to leave my friends and go and be with a lot of people that are older and like already gone through so many things. Just like it sounds just more intimidating than anything, to be honest.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, because, in college, your schedules are a lot less like hours than high school.
Yeah, less
I used to go visit high school, for lunch or like for free periods just to like hang out with friends. Yeah, no, it got lonely.
Yeah.
It got lonely. I was working at Zara for a a bit. That was like, that was the retail
Any
job.
clothes fit you though? You're a
No,
giant
none,
dog.
none.
Were you rolling up jeans before the roll up was like lit? Just 'cause they didn't have a size 38 length for your legs?
I didn't have to cut my jean shorts, just put it that way.
No, that's incredible. So you wanted to stay.
I wanted to stay.
So you did PPD.
In my last year,
Okay.
I decided to apply to the engineering school.
Wow.
And
Why the engineering school?
Because they had a really cool program for construction management. Okay. And that's something I was really interested in, was construction. So I applied to this program. I actually did have to take a standardized test this time. Got in, and it was supposed to be a 1-year program, but that was around the time that I started my business. And I was actually part-time, and I was actually traveling a lot to visit our factories and things like that.
What year was this for you?
I was 20, so it was 2008.
So you had graduated, and now this is going into the graduate school. Yeah.
So wait, so you had started a business.
I started the business in the last semester of college.
Was it just on a whim, or?
So at SC, you're in South Central LA. It's a very interesting neighborhood because you have like this, ritzy college, ritzy university, but in a neighborhood that's
down one block
very impoverished.
Yeah, you're in the hood.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool that when we were there, we started seeing. I don't know if you remember this, you guys. You started seeing fixed gear bikes everywhere.
Yeah.
And there were just like these really vintage looking bikes with like crazy color, like a red wheel in the front and a green in the back and purple grips and no two bikes looked the same, and they were so eye catching, and it was literally just the kids in the neighborhood that were piecing together these old bikes, and they really caught my eye. I ended up buying one, and it was a painful process buying one, and that first of all, you could only really buy them pieced together like that. So you were buying somebody else's
and then customizing it afterwards.
It was like somebody was like literally salvaging an old road bike and like just buying parts and piecing it together, converting it fixed, and selling it on Craigslist or something.
And this was before like fixies were really hitting
this
the
was
craze.
really there was no such thing as like a mass market fixie at this point. There was you could go to a bike shop and buy a $1,200 track bike, or you could buy a used converted road bike on Craigslist. And I saw this and I was like, wow, like every number I'm calling on Craigslist, the bike's already sold. Okay. Right. And this is
so there was a big void and bottlenecks in the
big
process.
Void, yeah. And this is 10 years ago, right? It's changed a lot since then. So I'm seeing this huge demand, and it's confusing, right? Because no two bikes are the same. So here I am, amateur, first time in 20 years buying a bike, and I have to choose between bikes that are all different but all the same kind of, and like this guy's piecing it together with new parts, used parts, brand name component, and so this gave me the idea, like, hey, like this is something that like if we make it cool and bring it to market as a product that that our generation could relate to, there's a real opportunity here. So that was
so you started that, like, just like what was the initial process for you?
Initial process for me, I would say research just on the market. Like, how do you get one?
Did you take any classes at Marshall?
I did, and none of them really had to do with marketing or product development or anything like that. I would say, if anything, like my engineering classes helped me more because they had to do more with like construction management's a lot like engineering management, product development, and like
it's
the
all
project,
and
like cost management and scheduling, estimating, all that stuff. So there were actually a lot of parallels there. And then, funny enough, my urban planning background, that's all about alternative uses of transportation, getting people out of cars, getting people to walk around, bike friendly. So there's actually a lot of parallels between the things that I was learning that had nothing to do with bikes and what I was really interested in now. And so it's not just that I saw an idea, but it's something that I really believed in.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of like, it was health conscious, going green. I'm an outdoorsy guy, so anything that like, can get a kid off his, Game Boy, iPhone, or whatever, and
becoming
outside.
tougher and tougher these days.
Yeah, it's tougher and tougher. So anything that would do that is something that I could really get excited about. That's it's a big part of my life. So
got it.
It just made sense.
What was the reason for going? Was it just purely to stay in college that you went the engineering route, or like you're in the infant stage of this business And usually when kids like want to start the business, it's like, fuck it, like now it's time.
Yeah.
Let me put my own.
That's a really good question. It's 2008. Times were really hard economically and all that stuff. I actually had a really good situation at the school with my student loans.
Got it.
They were paying for
Mailman's
housing.
Bring the mailman out, baby. Carl, is that you?
They were paying for housing and other expenses, meal plans, all that stuff. So part of me, and I have to be completely honest with you, part of me wanted to stay in school so that my life can continue to be paid for. I had a job all throughout college, so I had some savings. Less than $10,000, and that all went into my business. I didn't have anything left over to pour into the business, and all the meanwhile, I'm applying for credit cards and doing whatever I can to just like maximize how much money I could borrow, no matter how expensive it was. To throw at this thing. So part of the reason why I stayed in school, honestly, was just so that my life can continue to be paid for.
That's incredible though, because like it takes a smart human being to know that, okay, the economy's in a recession. Like, bro, 2007 to like 09, 2010 was like brutal for this job market.
Yeah.
So
and by the way, I was studying real estate and we had a real estate crisis.
And especially for somebody that knows, okay, I could go out and start this business, or my life's on autopilot. Maybe let me take less risk, learn a little more.
Yeah.
Like these were conscious decisions.
This was a conscious decision. And I just want to make it clear, I didn't like take any grants or, it was loans, I've paid them all back, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I also got a degree that helped me a lot. I don't want to like discount that.
Not at all.
And you guys went to USC, just like the network there, the support system, my professors I was like, hey, I'm going to China for 2 weeks. And I'm going to miss class for the next 2 weeks. Like and the response was like, yeah, you're starting a business. Like that's what this is all about.
Exactly.
However we can support you. And that was a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
And they'd send you video lectures and we'll get into that. I have so many cool stories about what it was like starting a business while I was still in school and traveling and all that stuff.
And with that, well, one, that's actually a really good point about USC too. Like the music school, they also allow you to, if you go on tour or get like a record deal, you can come back and at any time and finish the program, even if it's 10 years from now.
That's amazing.
That's
really very unique because usually there's like the 5-year cutoff or something.
But the conversation was just that. It's like, that's the point.
But
what are you going to do?
Very like application based.
That was something I could relate to.
And
it's not a theoretical school.
Yes.
Like you're applying what you're learning at USC.
They're like, you have a chance to be in a touring band or have a record. Like that's what are you going to do? Sit through like the history of radio?
No, my midterm, bro. Appreciate you.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
But before you started the business, do you have like an entrepreneurial spirit? Or did you ever start businesses? Did you want to start a business? Because in today, being a quote unquote entrepreneur is like the cool, trendy shit. But going back basically 10 years?
Right.
Did you ever have the thoughts of, I want to start a business, or you just saw an opportunity and was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do?
That's a good question. I always thought I'd end up in some kind of business and being, working for myself in some capacity. I didn't know in what. I definitely didn't think I was going to be, in the bicycle industry. But in high school, I was buying and selling concert tickets, Laker tickets, whatever I could get my hands on.
That's interesting.
So you had the hustles.
So you still had the hustle, okay?
I'd leave class to like go to the computer lab and like buy tickets that were going on sale to like K-Rock, at like 10 a.m. on a Thursday, and like get Green Day tickets in fucking Chicago that I knew were gonna sell out, and like sell, whatever it was, whatever it was. And
dude, this dude's mailman, like,
and that
the hustle's real, though.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
No, I did. So I always had it a little bit, but I think that I realized, you could get stuck doing stuff like that. One of my friends uses rent control as an analogy. Rent control is this great thing because, people get to stay in their homes, but it also inhibits growth. Because if you have this apartment that, you rented for $500 in LA and now, 10 years later it's $610, but you can afford a $3,000 apartment, but you're still living there because it's $500.
Yeah.
You have this situation where it's kind of not helping you anymore.
Exactly.
Right? It's the same thing. I think in business, no matter how big I would have grown this concert ticket flipping thing for, you know, I never felt like I was building something. And I did have like an aspiration to build something. And it's amazing because I ended up doing something that I'm like very passionate about.
Yeah.
With the bikes.
So take us through that then. So we know your reason for staying in school for that. Now take us through that experience, especially the initial experience of you have some money saved up, you're throwing it all in at the bikes. Yeah. And it's crazy because a really good friend of mine, and I took the entrepreneurship program at SC. And in Entrepreneurship 401, right? Or the first segment of the core program, you have to interview an entrepreneur in your field. And for me, like, I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do. So I was interviewing my boy's dad, Armin Yemenidjian. What's up, big boy?
Shout out to Armin.
You dig? And his dad, Alex Yemenidjian, who was the former president and CEO of MGM and like huge accounting boss and huge just like Don Dada in the game, like Kirk Kerkorian's right-hand man. Right? And mind you, this dude, huge Armenian cat, like light skin, light eyes, like you would not think of him this way. Just Mr. Suave Mente, just humongous cat though, right? Comes to school in basketball shorts, basketball tee. You'd never know who he is. It's crazy because like I feel like a lot of cats that come from really wealthy families, that also are raised well to the point where they're kind of like, you know what, like I want to be independent myself. They have this like drive to be better and not like utilize their like, yes, they have different passages that others don't, but like they use that only when it's necessary and want to like work hard and just be better. Because that's the talk that me and him always had. But he'd always like, you'd never know who he was until one day, like he's like, we got really close. Just like, I didn't know who the fuck he was. He didn't know who I was. He just knew I'm a chubby Persian dude that's just like shabba dabba doo doo. You know what I mean? But I asked him to interview his dad. I found out who he was. The other story that doesn't need to be said is when I got the fucking tape recorder and I thought I turned it on and it wasn't, and I had to go straight off memory in my notes. But his dad's...
You have a history of doing that, by the way.
Hey, it happens, bro. It happens. You know what I mean? But one thing his dad told me that really stuck was every big decision I've ever made in my life, and mind you, he was making these when he had a wife and kids. Right. Like his wife put him through school. Like he was super poor. His wife put him through school and was like
amazing,
working as a maid just to like put the family by.
Respect.
Right? But his biggest point was every decision I made in life, I did not give myself a backup plan. It was either win or fail. Right? Amazing. And I bring that up because you're over here. Yes, you have your bare necessities set up, right? But you're putting all of your money, right?
Yeah.
Into your business at first. You know goddamn well what the implications of that are. And you're also speaking about how can I get the credit cards popping? What's the most I can borrow?
Right.
I'm not stupid enough to think that I'm not getting hit for 24% or 17% interest on this shit. So what was that like?
It's interesting that you say that because I want to step back a second. It's
Let's
actually very similar to what I did when I left high school.
Okay.
When I left high school to go to SMC, you know, people go to community college because high school didn't go that well. They didn't get into the college they want to go to. Now I'm doing that at the age where I should be giving high school a chance.
Yeah.
So if community college didn't work for me at 15 or 16, there was no fallback.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this was a familiar feeling for me. When it came to the business and, you know, I was putting everything I had into this idea, I really believed in it. And what can I say? I mean, the fallback, there was no fallback. I mean, the fallback was that there was not, you know, relatively speaking, there's not that much to lose, and I would have, you know, gotten a job if it didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, it was everything. It was, you know, you're working $15 an hour jobs in college and stuff, and like that's paying for a lot of your expenses, and you know, manage to save up almost $10,000, $8,000. You know, that's money. That's like, you know, that's real money.
You work for that money.
Yeah. That's you know, that's a lot of money for me back then. That was, I mean, Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
How was it for you balancing like school and just like, you know, I mean, you spoke on how kind of open your professors were to that, but what was that like, just balance like in terms of life? Because you're adding a whole nother responsibility that you know means a lot to your future life,
right?
And we're beginning to see that you're somebody that takes the 3 to 5 years ahead of your life into consideration in your decisions.
Yeah, I think that this is where passion becomes really important, because I loved what I was learning at school, and I loved my professors, and it's not that like I didn't want to let them down, but I wanted to impress them. That was important to me. And it was the same thing at work. Like, you know, you put everything into this one idea, and it's, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's you got to make it work, or it's a big bust. So, you know, with school, I did whatever I had to do to get by and to do well and to impress and to go notice. And I keep in touch with a lot of those professors today.
Yeah.
And with the business, it was the same thing. I mean, I wasn't sleeping. You know, my days back then, I mean, the way we started to sell, you know, I got this shipment of bikes in, and now we have product, and it's like, all right, what do we do with this product?
Yeah.
I was driving a van around Los Angeles with bikes in the back of it, going from bike shop to bike shop, selling bikes to bike shops out of my van.
I love it. What kind of van was this?
It was
like a Rapo van, like an Astro van, or like a VW.
It was like a GMC, like extra long. It was like one of those.
Yeah, you had the plumber's van.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
you know exactly which one. Yeah. So, so that was the van. I was driving around town selling these bikes. You know, I mean, on a typical day, you go to 20 bike shops. You're lucky to sell 2 bikes to one shop. Ooh. I mean, that's what it was like. But you know, you got to be willing to do that to get that one shop, and then to do that again the next day and get another shop, and that's how you start building accounts. And next thing you know, you're doing business with 10 shops, 20 shops, 50 shops, 100 shops.
How was that grind for you guys? Was it just painful, you, or was it?
It was just me.
Okay.
It was painful. It was hard.
Did you ever have like some of these owners being like, you know, like sometimes you'll get the sale because you just throw the thug out, but then there's others that are like, you know what?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that you have to realize about the space that we were in. We were selling a type of bike that they didn't know about. Right? Whoa. You have a bike shop owner. They have mountain bikes, beach cruisers, road bikes, all of the, tandem bikes, all of these bikes that are so familiar. They didn't know what was going on with the fixed gear bikes. And the ones that, and you know, I'd go into a shop that's been there for a million years, and we all know how much, like, you know, brick and mortar retail is hurting. And I'd say, hey, listen, trust me, like, these things are selling. Like, just give me the floor space. And most of the guys didn't bite, but the ones that did, you know, if I dropped off 2 bikes on Wednesday, they were calling me on Friday, like, yo,
so the ones
give
you
me
got
5 more bikes. Oh, they sold so fast, man.
Really?
So fast. And I mean, it's not like that anymore. It's been 10 years, you know, it's caught up.
But that moment is when you know, you're like, whoa, we got something.
Yeah, when we got our second shipment of bikes in, maybe it wasn't our second. By second, like, the wheels were still moving kind of slowly. But by the time we got our third shipment in, it was something like 800 bikes. Those 800 bikes, I didn't even have room for in the space that we were using. We unloaded them onto the side of the street. They were all pre-sold, and now the bike shops were coming to us to pick them up because they'd been waiting for them.
Wow.
And we unloaded like almost 1,000 bikes on the side of the street on 21st and Broadway, downtown south of the 10. And bike shops were coming up, and we had their orders ready, and like we loaded them up, and that was it. And that's when we knew, like, we really had something.
How long was it from shipment 1 to 3?
Oh man, probably like close to 9 months.
Got it.
Yeah, we had, like, by that point we'd probably been sold out for 2 months, but we didn't have enough money to like order fast enough. So it's like you sell, and then like that day, like, we got these 800 bikes. We sold all of them basically in like one day. They didn't all get picked up that same day, but like they all sold that week. And then like we had enough money to like place the next order, but we were sold out for 3 months again. So like our first couple of years of business, like we're sold out for months on end, which was incredible.
That's insane. And the thing with like fixies is that they're so affordable, right? So how much were you selling bikes for?
We were selling these the retail price on these bikes was about $350.
Okay, so just to give you perspective, not getting into numbers here, but like when you go buy a bike, people are used to spending what, $600, $700, $1,200 on a bike on like these top gear, like 6-geared crazy bikes that are gonna, this very advanced stuff. And now you have people walking in the stores and buying these affordable, cool bikes that are putting these high price, crazy, like professional, insane bikes completely like left in the dust.
Now all these guys that were like refurbishing bikes on Craigslist and stuff are hitting us up, and they're like, "Hey, we're selling used bikes for $500. You're bringing new bikes with brand new components for $350. Like, how are we? How do we get these bikes?" And so at that point, like people started reaching out to us.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't really have like that much of an outbound sales process, honestly, for a couple of years because like we couldn't fulfill the demand. I mean, it was amazing. Yeah.
What was that like for you guys not being able to fulfill it? Because I'm sure like to a degree it was kind of like, okay, cool, like we have security in our next move.
Yes.
But then was it ever like, shit, we need to grow faster and the only thing that's stopping us is an inflow of cash?
Right. That's a good question. I think just like other times in my life, I didn't feel the need to do what everyone else was doing.
Got it.
I think that's the trend right now is like, let's not worry about being profitable or whatever. Like everybody wants like a small piece of this enormous pie. And for me, I was like, you know what? I don't need to be part of an enormous pie. Like my business right now is like very comprehensible for me. It makes sense to me. It's simple enough. And like, if we grow it organically, then I'll always be ready because I will have always taken the step before. But if we just try to supercharge it, I was always afraid that it would get away from me.
Conscious decision.
Very conscious. Yeah. Because, we did have some individuals that helped us along the way that, lent us money or whatever, that helped us out a lot, but, conscious decision for sure to keep control of the company.
Got it.
Yeah.
I remember seeing, if you want to get into the story, but there was the picture where David Beckham gets the bike. Now,
shout out to David fucking
Beckham.
Now,
the reason
you're listening, David.
Now, the
gorgeous bastard, you.
The reason I bring this up is because you have to think about what you're doing isn't just about selling bikes.
Right.
Now you're impacting pop culture.
Yeah.
And that's what I think Fixies did. It wasn't so much like this is a great business opportunity because I could just slang bikes. It's something that's having a huge influence on the community, on the culture, on, riding bikes were trendy again. If you had a fixie, you were all of a sudden cool.
It was very cool. I mean,
it was a cool thing to do. It wasn't about, I just got a new bike.
Our bike was in a Will.i.am video. I mean, the David Beckham thing. It was in one of our bikes was in Her. That that movie. Yeah. Her. I mean, it was all. I mean, we've been in like all kinds of commercials that you've all seen.
What was that like? I want to say from a standpoint of just like a cool factor, but also like from a business standpoint.
Right.
So because you start getting hot in the game, your boys want some, and they're like, "Yo, I know you're selling them for these, but give me the, what do you get them at?"
I'm always happy to hook up the homies.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I love that. Nothing makes me happier. Again, like
I still have a bike from him.
Yeah.
Lit.
I mean, again, for me, like the most rewarding part of all of this is how much I love the outdoors and getting people outside.
Got it.
And even if it's just giving a bike to a friend who I know is only going to use it to like ride 1 block to brunch on Sundays, like at least they're riding a bike, 50 blocks more all year.
That's
than
incredible.
They would have
Incredible,
otherwise.
Though.
Like that makes me happy.
Got it.
And
that's awesome.
I think that just like having those little experiences, has a really positive and exponential like impact on a person.
What was the outdoors for you that you wanted to like?
Yeah.
To kind of like, I guess even when you know that people aren't going to maximize it to maybe how much you love it, but just the thought of giving it a shot of somebody experiencing the outdoors. What was that outdoors to you?
Right. I grew up in a family that really loved the outdoors. I mean, even like when my family had dinner at home, like we were sitting outside, we were grilling. But also, you know, my parents and grandparents, you know, took us, you know, skiing in Big Bear and Mountain High when, you know, in SoCal, like in the winters, you know, as much as possible. You know, maybe like 5-10 weekends a year, and same thing in the summer. Like we'd go to Castaic Lake and like, you know, go water skiing or whatever it was. And those are really like my most cherished memories. My favorite trip I ever took with my family was going to Lake Tahoe every summer and just like chilling by the lake, you know, for a week.
Yeah.
And going hiking and, you know, whatever it was. So I had this like very deeply rooted connection to the outdoors. But what made me really want to share that was my early stages of starting my business and going to bike shops that were not welcoming. They were not welcoming of a young person coming in with a fresh idea. They were not welcoming of a new type of bike that they hadn't heard of. I found the industry to kind of cage people off. And I found it to be almost like this exclusive club for enthusiasts. And that's where I really saw an opportunity. I said, if we can do this and partner with the shops that are interested in the person who hasn't been on a bike in 10 years, that's who we want to do business with. That's who can be a strong partner for us. And I think that's like what we really built our brands on. Is the idea of, you know, forget about the guy that has 5 bikes in the garage. That guy's got his favorite bike brand. Way too many companies competing for his business. I'm much more interested in, yo, Anush, you just lost 30 pounds. Like
what to do, baby? Like
your health is obviously important to you.
Yes.
I know you like having a good time. Like why don't we go on a bike ride together this weekend?
I would love to go on a bike ride.
You know, that's what. But like really, like that's serious, that's the real stuff, right?
Let's cruise on a whip.
And I've done stuff like that. I've done stuff like that, and I'm happy to. I love it.
Okay.
And so for me, it's that. I'd much rather, you know, talk to you about getting on a bike than somebody that's already got a bunch of bikes.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Now, during that time and you're seeing rapid growth, are you still in school?
I am. At this point, I'm still in school. We're having some early stage, you know, growth problems and manufacturing issues. I'm traveling to China.
Like what were some of those issues?
So one of the factories I was working with that was basically our factories are an extension of us here. So we don't produce everything here, but you know, our factories overseas, they work with us like really as a partner more than anything else. So the person I was working with, my contact at our first factory, actually sent me an email one day and they're like, hey, we can't do business with you anymore. Like we have an exclusive relationship with a much bigger company that prohibits us from working with you anymore.
Oh, wow.
And so I have this big freak out and I'm like, oh my God, like things are going so well here. Like we could barely get product fast enough. And now I have to find a new, you know, supplier. So I like immediately I get on Skype, and this is like a nightly thing for me. I'm on Skype, you know, like midnight every night, just like talking to suppliers and stuff. And I'm like, hey, like, what are we going to do? Da, da, da. And she's like, don't worry, I got you covered. My husband works for another factory. I'm going to hook you up with them. They're going to take care of you. And she's, you know, dropping all these names of different companies that they produce for. They're legit. Don't worry, you can trust them, blah, blah, blah. I don't even have time to think about it. And we place production with these guys. Little do I know that they had a little scheme going, that she was taking business away from her big thing and basically funneling business to the factory her husband worked for and taking like a, you know, kickback or something like that.
Wow.
Next thing you know,
entrepreneurs, and especially in the global economy there.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so next thing you know, we're getting, you know, bikes that aren't up to like our quality standards. I mean, we had like a situation where like, thankfully it was a bike shop. They got a bike where like they opened the box to build this bike to put it on the floor, and there was like an empty pack of like Chinese cigarettes in the box. I mean, like, could you imagine if like a consumer got that? I mean, it'd be terrible. It'd be terrible.
Oh my God.
And I mean, it's not like anything that's like dangerous.
No,
or,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
no.
But
Dude, I would take
From
a
an
picture.
experience
I would
standpoint,
ta-
you're like, whoa, really?
I would take a picture of it and put it on Instagram.
Especially nowadays.
yeah.
What part is this?
So yeah, exactly. Right.
No, but just from an experiential standpoint, it's just like, whoa.
Oh,
So that was a really real experience for me. So I actually flew there almost immediately, and it's
How'd
funny.
you figure that out?
How did I figure out that it was her husband's thing, or like
No, just like that, like
Oh, okay,
the
so-
scam was happening, and you had to go in there, like
so she gets me on this thing, and she gets me really excited about the new factory. They reduce my cost a little bit, and they tell me that like the quality's gonna be a lot better, or whatever. So I'm sold, right? Like I'm getting more, paying less, right?
yeah, and you have to.
And you're still
and I
you're
have to be sold because I don't have a choice. I
Yeah.
need bikes yesterday.
You're in
Yeah.
panic mode. Yeah.
Right, I'm in panic mode. So you kind of get sucked into this bad situation, and then it ends up not being what they sold. So I'm like, you know what, next flight to China, and this was around the time actually of it was going to be like my last exam at USC,
Wow.
and it's like your final exam, and like you can't get your master's degree that you've been working on for 2 years unless you take this exam, pass it, and this class and whatever. So I go up to the professor and I'm like, hey, this is the situation. I know I've missed half the semester traveling and working, whatever. I can't. I'm just like, it would suck if this happened, but I will go on this trip regardless of what you say. So like, let's work it out together. And he's like, dude, there's nothing I could do. You're gonna, you got to take this test. The test is the test. And I was like, there's got to be a way. Please work with me. And he's like, I'll tell you what. He's like, you go to a reputable university in China and you find someone to proctor your exam. I'll email it to them. And you could
Holy
take
shit,
your
that happened.
your exam in China. So I was like, done. Don't worry about it. I got it.
You're like, okay, roll up in the Shangzhou University on site.
So now I go home and it's like 11 p.m. and I'm on like one Skype call with like the factories, like, hey, I'll be there in 3 days, and like another thing I'm like researching universities near. So I end up at like this Fakakta University in the middle of nowhere. Like I'm calling down, I'm like, hey, I'm staying at a hotel nearby. I'm an American student, I want to take a test there. And they're like, oh, like, yeah, call our international office. They think that I'm trying to apply to be a student there. They don't understand anything I'm saying. And like, by the way, you can't get anyone in China people in China don't speak English.
Yeah.
It's not common. Restaurants or banks or, sophisticated places, no matter where you are, it's very hard to find people who speak English. So I'm just calling and calling and calling until I could get someone, and then I'm like trying to explain it in the simplest and slowest way. Like, hello, I am a student from America. I need to take a test. Test? What? Like totally confused.
The buzzword kills them.
Right.
Test.
Anyway, so finally figured it out, and I figured out how to take this test there. Was very grateful for this person doing me this favor of that they really didn't have to do, me and my professor, for letting me do that. But I had to do stuff like that all along.
Your professor was probably like thinking to himself, like, I'm glad he did it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put this in front of you. You get this done. We know what it is.
that
But,
was
like,
a life experience.
smiling.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. No, he was definitely a wise man, and that was a life lesson. I'll tell my kids that story one day and be like, hey, that time I figured it out.
Yes.
When it was fail your the last educational academic exam of your life, or do this thing you have to do for your business. So I think these are like the moments that
Absolutely.
and that kind of stuff is prevalent in the way that we've always run our business and continue to run our business.
So you were at that point. You took your final.
Yeah.
You made that happen, but you were like, fuck it, I'm going to make this happen regardless. Now
Right.
you're in China.
So now I'm in China, and I'm meeting with that first factory. I think I'm going there to beg them to just like to work with me again. And what ends up happening is that they're like, hey, we're not sure if this happened to you because it happened to some of our other customers, and we haven't heard from you in a while. But it seems like this person was taking business away from here.
Wow.
And I was like, it's good to be home.
Oh,
Wow. Showed up in China, and you're like,
Yeah. We actually don't work with them anymore, but
yeah.
But
That's
that's
it's
It's crazy.
So you went back to that factory then?
Yes. Yeah.
That had to be just like the biggest relief for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you caught a predator. You know what I'm saying? It was on NBC Dateline. They're like, we got him, buddy. Is this the guy? All right, now leave the crib. You can come back to your house, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's incredible that those moments, you know, when you're starting a business, it's never going to be a smooth ride, like ever.
Right.
And I'm sure that's one of many hurdles.
Oh, it's the stuff that you don't think of.
Yeah.
And that's what I hate about, you know, putting everything on. I'm a spreadsheet guy. I'm pretty calculated. I plan, but like you can never account for everything. If you try to plan things so precisely that you have exactly enough for this and that, like you're always going to miss it because there's always going to be surprises, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you, you know, in terms of being in the fixie era where they just started booming,
Right.
how do you deal with that? Because you came in like right before it became, you know, a quote unquote bubble almost, right?
Right.
How do you deal with this now, you know, insane competition? Now you're seeing fixies everywhere. You're seeing a million fixie companies pop up. How do you deal with that? And, you know, whether it's pivoting or, you know, just maneuvering and separating you from the pack.
Right. Well, I think fortunately, we were the first to, you know, mass produce it, if you will.
Okay.
And I hate to use that word because we actually went really out of our way to make our bikes look like the ones that were pieced together with different colors. Like we would make a yellow bike with a purple wheel in the front, with a orange wheel in the back, and whatever. So we would really do stuff. And I think like people remembered us as the brand that brought it to the mainstream, that made it available for the bike shops.
Wow.
So I think that's powerful. I think the fact that we handled business so well when we had no competition said a lot about us, and people continue to like to work with us. Perfect example is, you know, the owner of the Beverly Hills Bike Shop. I walked into his store with my road bike the other day, and he's like, remember that time that you sent us that batch of bikes? And it was actually that batch of bikes I told you about that was like a little problematic. And he's like, it was a little problematic, and you took them all back, and you didn't have to do that, but like you did. He's like, that's why we still do business with you. And like that was really, really recent. So like 8 years later, and he remembers that. He probably deals with stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
And he remembers that. So I really think that it's important to, you know, just always do the right thing. People remember it.
Yeah.
You know, if you lie once, you're a liar. Yeah. And if you do the right thing all the time, you know, like that's all that matters. If you do the right thing 95% of the time, people only remember the 5% of the time that you didn't do the right thing.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line. So you gotta like, you know, be willing to stamp your name on everything that you do.
Absolutely. How was that growth period for you, right? Because like that was very like young in the first few years of your business, right?
Right.
How has the last 5 been, just for you in terms of like growing, building teams,
right,
like overseeing more,
yes,
needing to take a step, and correct me if I'm wrong in any of these, or like if my assertions are straying away, but it comes now to the point where you have to be more of the visionary and over, like as hands-on as you are in your business.
Right.
The leaders like take some hands off. What's it called? Delegate more. And then the ones that really delegate more successfully, like interview the shit out of their employees and like build from the top down and all that, but piece together a team where trust again is needed and necessary for growth and sustaining that growth. And then the head is supposed to oversee all these things and take more minute looks at certain details, but trusting that those who they put in place can do it, and then also just think about growth in general.
Yeah.
So how has that kind of been for you from going?
It was a one-man show when we started.
Yeah, I mean, you were the dude in the van.
Yeah.
Long-ass way of saying, how has it been going from you doing every damn thing possible to now overseeing like a bigger business?
Sure. Yeah. So there's to address that question, there's 20 of us now.
Got it.
So it is a bigger team. One of the hardest things for me as an operator has been delegating, relinquishing control. And I think one of the things I've learned is just like how much time and effort you have to put into hiring the right people.
Yeah.
it's really so important. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And, that's something I take really seriously. And fortunately, like, we have a really amazing group of people that work for our company, and they share the vision. And I think that, whether or not they're just as passionate about the particular hobby, I think they understand what we're about, and they're on a mission to.
They feel a part of something.
Yeah, definitely, and that's powerful. For me, you're talking about delegating. People always say that if you could hire somebody to do something 80% as well as you can as a CEO or as an owner, you should do it. And I don't know if I buy that. I think that the members of our team do stuff better than when I was doing everything, because I was spread so thin.
Yeah.
I really believe that. And I try to spend a lot of time with everyone. I think that's a really important thing, to make sure that nobody's ever afraid to walk into my office, shoot me an email, call me, whatever it is, text on the weekend. I try to be really approachable,
accessible,
and we're a team. So I think that's important.
Well, with that, I think one of the biggest challenges is, how do you have trust in people to do that? Because your Retrospec is a brand that you guys aren't heavy on like big marketing campaigns and blasting things. You're not huge on social media. You're like, a lot of your business has come from your single work of you, Ely. A lot of it in the beginning, like you just talked about.
It definitely started out that way.
Like the foundation, right?
Right.
That's kind of how you built your roots. So how do you transfer that into now your staff and dealing with like that trust and making sure the brand and everything is seen through, aside from delegating the actual tasks and work, but more the ethics, the vision, and the integrity, the culture, and in terms of building your company.
I like to tell the stories about like driving around the van in July, on a hot day, like all over the city and stuff, because I think that one of the things we talk a lot about at work is that we're not, one of these other like millennialized e-commerce, type brands that just went and raised a bunch of money, have an unlimited marketing budget, whatever. We're not Casper, we're not Warby Parker. And we have to be more creative for our exposure. And the same way that we had to fight harder to get 1 out of 20 bike shops to give us a listen, we have to fight harder for exposure and for building relationships and things like that.
Do you think it's possible to keep that kind of counterculture, but also utilize an unlimited budget? Or do you think that you just inherently lose substance if you just like grow super quick?
I don't have any negative thoughts.
Not even
that.
Like negativity, but it's just like it's always interesting when you like, even like bands, right? Like, I want to play these shows and I want to speak to my fans, and then like some of them want to become superstars,
right? But they're not ready.
But to become superstars, like they gotta now go through a couple acceptances from labels and A&Rs that maybe they don't need to, and like they need to have the hit that we could take to Australia and UK and all that, right? So I think it's just kind of like, essentially it's digging into the course, right? And the direction that one takes, and the biggest thing is like the why, right? You being the sole creator, like your why, you have an intimate attachment to it. And it's like, from a business owner, do you think that could be achieved in terms of keeping the cultural and the relevance and just like the non-sellout scenario?
Yeah.
But also infiltrate a larger mass of people? At the end of the day, however big you get is dependent on how big you want to get, right?
I think that there's a different way to approach different businesses and different industries.
Yeah.
The bicycle industry is something I kind of landed in because of this one idea I had 10 years ago. Yeah. I think it would, to be honest with you, I think it would be a horrible idea to start a bicycle company today, because it's literally an industry that's not growing.
Got it.
It's an industry that's like kind of stayed the same for many, many years. Fluctuates a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit up, a little bit down, but generally speaking, it's been the same size. So you're constantly fighting for market share. that's why I think that the companies that have entered our space and raised a bunch of money and whatever, I think that they've kind of come up short because they were expecting this like explosive growth that just never came. So I actually don't think that that there's anything wrong with, you know, the super size me model and doing business that way. I will say that if we were in a different space, maybe that would make more sense.
Got it.
But, you know, for us, like, we kind of know what we are and how we knew from the beginning, like, how big fixed gear can get. I mean, it probably got a little bit bigger than we thought it could get. But
it's right in that sweet spot.
It was always going to be like a niche type of bike and, you know, a niche part of a very small industry.
Absolutely.
So
that's interesting to put in that perspective because, yeah, I mean, the bike industry is only so big.
Yeah.
So as it is.
Right. I mean, you have roughly 5,000 bike shops in the country, roughly.
That's not
and
bad.
about 1,000 every year open and 1,000 every year close.
Oh,
a little bit more closed than open, but it's a really tough space.
Yeah.
You know, just think about LA, just driving through town, like how many bike shops there are everywhere. And these are all independent mom and pop shops, right? I mean, how often do people buy bicycles? Even if you're an enthusiast, you buy a $12,000 bike. Like, how many of those are you going to buy?
Yeah, you're not. There's not a lot of like rebuying or things like that. You buy your bike, you have it for years.
Yeah, it's a really tough space. A lot of times you're marketing to people who are not in the market.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I'm sure there's still a lot of room for that.
Yeah.
But you've tailed into other things too.
Yes.
Like, what sparked you to do that?
So, we had a phase where we knew that we were very much married to the fixed gear thing, and we said, you know, we're fully capable of making other kinds of bikes, so let's do that. And so we kind of dove into, you know, hybrid bikes, city bikes, and we really made a point to stick to the genre of lifestyle bikes. So bikes that you would use to either commute or ride for fun on the weekends. We even make like a rental bike now. We made a point not to do anything that was like super performance oriented. And that was that was a very conscious decision. That market served, let's make bikes cool and fun.
Got it.
That, you know, that's what we've been good at.
How's that been for you guys, like penetrating new market spaces?
Yeah, well, you know, the good thing is that we have existing relationships. So, again, I said a minute ago, I wouldn't start a bike company today. Like, what enables us to sell these other bikes that we make now
is that 10 years of relationship.
Is that 10 years ago we started this thing, and we had this door into all these shops because we were the only ones that had this one kind of product.
Yeah.
And now if you wanted to start let's say like a beach cruiser company, you'd have a really hard time, you know, going door to door to bike shops and selling beach cruisers. I mean, it would be
almost impossible.
It would be almost impossible. And so I mean, it's something that we have a competitive advantage to do that, and that's also translated to other products. You know, we also own a brand called 10 Toes. 10 Toes is a board company.
Okay.
I still got to get on one of those, man.
Yeah, they're so cool.
Talk to me about these 10 Toes.
The
bro.
10 Toes.
First of all,
Yeah.
we're going on that fucking bike ride, right?
I would love to.
And like low key, we need to talk about a bike because I want to set up a scenario here.
Yeah, we're doing a Mama We Made It bike day, listeners.
Yeah, no, I want to ride. To be honest with you, I was actually thinking like I don't want to walk around here more,
right?
But I want to ride my bike down to Westwood. Or like,
why not, man? That's cool.
You know what I'm saying?
By the way, you should have 2 bikes. You really should, because you're a social guy. You have friends over all the time.
You got it.
You have friends coming over, and you're like, let's go grab a drink. Let's go to dinner.
Done.
Let's just ride through the streets.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, you
I'm
love
gonna
that.
do it 50-50. Like, it's the boys like, yo, bro, you want to like ride? You know, David Dan would love that.
He'd love that.
Because David Dan loves
having a good time, too.
He does. He loves these bikes, but like, mind you, we rode 2 bikes with fucking flat-ass tires through Beverly Hills, to get sushi. And I'm like, D, these aren't, like, tires aren't full.
Note to self, I'll bring you a pump, too.
Yeah, right? He's like, no, bro, you're fine. You're just fat right now. I'm like, bro. So I'm, like, just treading, and he's just like, David, when he runs and all that, like, literally just erect this shit, just getting it. But, like, it was the funnest thing to be riding bikes throughout the city.
That's too good, yeah.
Right?
So yeah,
no, but that, and then what the hell are these 10 Toes? Bro?
So 10 Toes was a really cool project. This is something I came across, and I was like, we got to do this. We make inflatable paddle boards. So you ever been on a paddleboard?
Where you stand and you just like
Stand up
basically
paddleboard.
stand up.
No,
It's
I
like you
haven't.
just-
Okay,
you
so
just
it's like
do
I
that.
haven't.
It's an enlarged surfboard.
Okay.
I think of that shape.
Okay.
Instead of being 6 to 10 feet tall, they're like 10 to 14 feet tall.
Okay.
And you can stand on them on like a surfboard, and they float, and there's a paddle. So it's kind of like kayaking standing up.
Yep.
And what's really cool about it is that it really appeals to a very broad audience. You have like the surfers that are down a paddleboard when the surf is small and it's not that exciting, but your parents and grandparents could literally paddleboard because it's that easy. It's like you're selling like the appeal of surf with the ease of standing and walking. It's such a cool sport.
And it's a lot easier because it's inflatable.
Well, so here's the thing: is you have these 10 to 14 foot boards. How are you going to get a 14-foot board to the beach?
Yeah, where the fuck am I putting them?
Right. So ours ours rolls up like a yoga mat.
Tusk, and I'm like, where am I going to put this?
Ours rolls up like a yoga mat when you're not using it.
Oh wow!
And you could carry it under your arm or in the backpack that you could get. And you could take it down to the beach. We have there's a pump that it comes with, or you could get an electronic pump connected to your car, and it just inflates in like 5 minutes. And once it's inflated, it's actually an amazing device. The board is 6 inches thick.
Okay.
And the top and the bottom of the board are fused together by 100 threads per square inch. So imagine what that looks like inside.
That technicality, because
No, okay.
I feel like
Okay.
I needed to do the face like,
A square.
whoa, and I'm just like, fuck, what is that?
Okay,
You know what I
I'll
mean?
give it to you like this.
I know it's like I'm being told something insane in terms of technology. Like,
I'll give it to you like this. Okay.
got it.
So you have this perfect shape. So
shit.
because if you think about it, if you inflate a surfboard, imagine an inflatable.
Yeah.
It would end up looking like a banana. It would
Yeah,
be round.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
absolutely.
So you have these threads that give you this perfect shape, just like a surfboard. It's actually like a very cool thing. And it's cladded with like a military grade PVC. I could drive my car over this thing.
That's wild.
You could jam it with a knife. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's
Wow.
People take them. Actually, a big thing now is paddleboarding down rivers.
Oh wow.
And you can't take a
shit.
regular fiberglass board down a river, because if you hit a rock or something and it punctures, it's gonna absorb all the water. But this thing just bounces off the rocks.
Shout out to all of those fibers per square inch, bro. Bow!
So it's a really cool project. We've been doing this for 2 years.
How'd that even come up?
It's something that I saw and I was like, wow, this is too cool. And nobody's dumbing this down enough for the average person. Like, it's way too technical. Just like the conversation we just had, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain what it is to you, and you're like pulling your hair out if you have any. And
No, you know what the thing is?
Shout out.
I know that, like, I have no more hair to even touch here. Like, let alone pull out, but I know my reaction is like an idiot's reaction.
But you still rock a really good fade though,
Bro,
bro.
my cul-de-sacs are so defined. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I love being bald. You know what I mean? And because we've brought this up, I'm going to take it back to the 8th grade. And yes, this conversation was had in the 8th grade.
let's hear it.
Where I went to a dermatologist and he's like, look, I actually went for the razor burn on my neck, and he told me like laser and all this shit would take care of it. But
The 8th. I just like that you have a beard in 8th grade,
yeah,
bro.
yeah,
Dermatologist.
yeah. Well, I went to a dermatologist to see him, and then he was like, look, I could give you Propecia to stop the stuff, and I was like, word, like, what's the side effects? He's like, it'll fuck with your libido.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was kind of like, okay, libido, doc, talk to me. You know what I mean? Like, what we talking about? And he literally just did the hand motion over like his balls area. And I literally, in that moment, I was like, I'm going bald in peace, baby. We good.
It just clicks.
That's that. Boom. Because look,
Light switch.
I fortunately have a nice shaped head. So when I shave my shit, I'm not worried about it.
Got a
You know what I mean?
got a beautiful.
I don't
head.
have the
You do
curly
have a nice
flows anymore. I appreciate
yeah.
you. I don't have the curly flows anymore, but fuck it.
Ah,
We
you-
bald as hell. You dig? I got way less fibers than Eli has on his inflatable paddleboard.
But yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy that it was sparked from just like the same idea. Like you saw an opportunity to,
Yeah.
basically
Did
bring it to
you-
the average
Well,
person.
so here's the
Do
thing.
you
that
paddleboard and then you just like saw something
I
like this?
paddleboarded
or-
and I do a lot more now. Again, like you know, all summer long, I'm taking friends, and not just like my best friends, but like whoever's down, like to Malibu or wherever, you know, along the coast here, just to go paddleboarding. Because like I love just like on Friday afternoon leaving work, throwing 10 paddle boards in the car with like a bunch of pumps, and then like whoever wants to come, just like meet me at this beach at the same time.
You know what? Again, so we've gotten to the bike trip that we all
I guess we're hanging out Saturday and Sunday.
You know what I'm saying? And the fucking paddleboarding is going to go on. Because you're going to see this chubalicious motherfucker on a paddleboard. Let's go. It's a wrap. You coming?
Oh, I'm there, man.
Better be there.
I'm there. We're still due for that. I've never been.
Wow, y'all been due for that? I'm over here just learning about this fucking paddleboard.
Let's go. We got to make it happen.
So that was a really cool project. And
is it housed under your company as another vertical,
yes, so
or is it?
Our parent company is Westridge Outdoors.
Okay.
And Westridge has a few brands under it, and 10 Toes is one of them. So 10 Toes is like, we built this brand to be our board company, and we've since expanded into other things.
So Westridge is your company?
Yes.
Okay, that's an umbrella over the different verticals.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, yeah. So we actually just launched this month, actually, longboard, like skateboard longboards. So we have like a really nice like bamboo longboard. So it's our first like dabble and skate.
I'm about to be an outdoorsman.
And
Eli, I'm hitting you. I'm hitting you for the longboards, the bike,
the paddleboard.
I'll definitely go paddleboarding with y'all. Don't know if I'm gonna get one, but let's go. Continue. Okay.
So it's been really fun, man. It's been really fun.
That's epic.
Yeah. No, and all of these little projects have been a learning experience for me. I mean, full disclaimer, I don't ride a skateboard. I never have. But, you know, 10 Toes like really took off. And what's cool and, you know, how we got here is our bike shops are actually like, they love what we're doing. They love the way we position the products and the way, you know, working with us. We've actually had bike shops that have never sold anything other than bikes, pick up paddle boards and sell paddle boards.
That's wild.
And now that we've had these longboards for a month, and I didn't even know that we were going to get, you know, cross promotion between, you know, this thing and that thing. And just the other day we saw someone Instagram just got off my paddleboard, time to get on the longboard.
Yeah.
And it's like we've had these things for a month, and like we're already seeing some of that, and that's really cool.
That's epic.
That's really cool.
You're over here smiling in your office like, shit, I need to DM him and get him like on a trip.
Yeah, it was very
come
cool.
Out and, like I'll paddleboard with you, and then I'll be biking while you skateboard. Because just a disclaimer, I haven't skated though, but it's okay.
I mean, we're in the business of you know, producing products that are fun.
Dope.
And, you know, that's what it's about.
Awesome.
As a business owner now in this stage in your life, how do you feel in, you know, going back to the Eli who, you know, left high school early because it just wasn't the right fit, to now? I mean, I'm sure I know actually you've had a billion and one challenges too every step of the way with growing this business. It's just the nature of business. But how do you feel as where you are now, just in your life sense? Are you still feeling challenged? Are you content? Do you want more? Where are you at right now?
Sure. That's actually something I'm reflecting a lot on right now. Been doing this for 10 years and kind of got into this accidentally. I meant to kind of go down the construction management road. Been doing this 10 years, and now, you know, you're starting to think about like, where's this all going? What am I doing? Like, you know, things have kind of slowed down. You know, I'm not like driving the van anymore. So yeah, I have a lot of time to reflect on that. And I think where I land all the time is that this makes me really happy. I really believe in like what I'm doing, and love the space that I'm in, love the people that I work with. I love the vibes. You know, it's not, I think that like everything's kind of glorified from the outside, you know, whether it's like music or, you know, acting or even like owning a business, like everything looks better on the outside than it is like once you're there. So like, not to say that this is like an easy life or whatever, like I still feel like really challenged. I'm definitely like working too hard. And that's something that like work-life balance is something I'm still figuring out. But, you know, being in a space where like we're dealing with like bike shop owners and, you know, and like constantly like trying to like, you know, figure out how to get people outdoors. Like that's stuff that like, you know, last night, Sunday night, I'm exhausted, whatever. I was like, I can't wait to get to work tomorrow. Like, there's so many things that I'm excited to work on. And that's not the feeling most people have Sunday night. It's probably not the feeling I'd have in real estate or in construction. So I'm hanging on to it, man.
That's awesome.
I'm really embracing that.
That's a great feeling to have.
Yeah.
That is when you really know, like, happiness is here.
Yeah.
Right? Because to be able to, like, look forward to the workday.
Right.
It's crazy because there's so many people, and I see this, going into the building every day. Like, look, like, there's days where I'm just like, fuck. Either I partied too hard the night before, or some days where I'm like, damn, you know what? Like, but the majority, like 95% of my days, I go in there thugging because I'm learning new things every day.
Yes.
Right. But the majority of people, like, you hit a Monday. I'm the asshole that'll talk to everybody in an elevator. We already know this. But I'm like, yo, happy Monday. How's everybody doing? And it's like, it's Monday. And I'm like, wait, every fucking Monday y'all really feel like this? Like, it's Wednesday, almost Friday.
Right. What the fuck's that about?
Like, what in the fuck? Friday hits. Ooh, it's Friday. Like, wait, every week y'all are doing this?
Right.
What the fuck are you doing wherever you're going?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's something where so many people are looking for this happiness or this thought of fucking happiness. But, like, you're over here. Yes, business has trials and tribulations. Yes, there's ups, downs. Yes, there's partners this. There's growth this. There's wrong decisions these. There's fucking epically life-changing decisions those, right? But to be able to really be like, whoa, I was exhausted on the Sunday, and I couldn't wait to get into work on Monday. That for me is just like, that's making it.
Right.
That's becoming. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, to me, making it isn't an end. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you something. Do you think it's important how you use your downtime?
Absolutely.
So what do you do to, like, blow steam? I really do. I think that, like,
at the same time, though, like, there are times where the importance of my downtime is being a vegetable, eating a lot of food.
Yes. Nothing wrong with that.
Sprawled out on the couch, music playing.
Yeah, you need that recharge.
Going.
Yeah.
But no, I think how you use your downtime, absolutely. And a big reason why is because I think a downtime in general allows you to think.
Yes.
In one way or another.
Right.
And I'm a very big proponent of the power of our thoughts.
Yes.
On where we go, right? Because before I hit a rock bottom in my life, all of my thoughts were on, like, holy fuck, like, how am I going to get through this day? What if I'm not as good as everybody thinks I am? All right, you're going to this event. You got to make sure your car isn't going to get towed, this, that, and the other. And, like, okay, go in there thugging. Now it's like, yo, I'm thinking about this podcast. I'm thinking about work things I got to do. I'm thinking about life. I'm thinking about whooping the fucking head investor of 5-4's ass in his challenge of my discipline and losing 30 fucking pounds in 2 months. You know what I mean? The last week of it, I'm thinking about putting trash bags on my body and working out like a fucking wrestler just so I make sure I drop the weight. But I truly think that how you utilize your downtime and downtime in general is super important.
Right. And I feel the same way. I said I was exhausted yesterday.
Yeah.
I was actually in Ojai with some friends.
Wild. How beautiful.
It's really cool. I love Ojai. Yeah. One of our friends has a really cool place there.
Cool.
And it's a nice house, but it's like on a beautiful, essentially a farm. And so we were picking crops for every meal.
Wow.
Making whatever it was.
How wild is that?
Yeah. No, I mean, like,
it's amazing.
From farm to table,
they were making,
literally.
Like, we had a joke at the weekend where, like, farm to table is in LA. This is table at farm.
I feel you.
Because it was whatever we wanted. I mean, they were making fresh cheese out of, fresh milk. Wow. It was cool. We harvested quail from the, we had fresh quail.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was cool. So, like, and that was after, I rode my bike down to, one morning I woke up early and I rode my bike down to Ventura from Ojai. Like, all the way down. I think it's like a kilometer decline and a kilometer. I mean, like, you're climbing a couple thousand feet on the way back.
Jesus.
And that was hard.
That was windy. Brutal.
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah, I could ride distance and I could put a lot of miles in, I'm not a very good climber.
Yeah.
So this was like a real test for me. But like I got back from that weekend and I was like, all right, that was cool. Like I'm ready for Monday. And
Yeah.
like it was never a dull moment. And by the way, like I definitely had my couch potato, days too. Like it's so important to just like totally zone out sometimes. But even after that or whatever it is, like if you make that time count, like you're going to be ready for the next thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, I also think that, for you to be happy in your business, right? It doesn't discount, like, you shouldn't look at it like, oh, Eli, he's got this great business. It's booming. He's got all these products, it's 20 staff, all this stuff. Of course he's happy. Well, that's not necessarily what actually brings the happiness, because you're still dealing with so many things that grind every day. Like you deal with, like I said, a million challenges. You've dealt with stuff where you've been almost at the bottom and had to climb your way back up. You've you've overcome so much of that too.
Yeah.
And that's just a part of this. Like you've done it and it's going to happen again.
And that's just like the business part too, bro.
So
By the way, the problems only get bigger.
Yeah.
They don't get smaller. I took more anxiety with me on this trip to Ojai this weekend than I ever took with me at the beginning.
Wow.
It's just a matter of learning how to cope with it.
Yeah.
I think the difference, if you are happy or if you are more calm or at peace later in the journey, it's because you've learned how to deal with it well and how to channel it.
It's not that it just clears
It's
up.
not that it clears out or that there's any less stuff to deal with.
yeah, you're not going to just wake up and
That's
be
a
like,
very big point though.
yeah, you're not going to wake up every morning and be like, I'm at the ultimate happiness because I feel good and nothing's going wrong in my day.
Or have done 6 months of yoga and been like super like chaturanga it out and have the ultimate clarity. The clarity comes in your ability to like compartmentalize it or understand it for what it is, and be able to move forward. Right?
Yeah, no,
like we're all human beings, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're a business owner, a son, you know what I'm saying, a brother, a grandson, you know what I'm saying, have a wife, maybe not. All of us are human beings. We deal with human problems as people, and then we also deal with like whatever our craft and our career are.
Yeah, but
like being able to deal with it is the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, it's not, from all the inspirational quotes out there and all that stuff that's just like is all over the internet anytime you type in like inspirational quote. And a lot of them are great, right? But I think like some of the most inspirational and real stuff can come from those really stressful, terrible days and figuring out that you go to bed that night and survived it. Yeah. And you woke up the next morning to do it again. Right. Like, how fucking bad is it really? Yeah. And only then you can analyze if you're happy or not. Because if you're happy, you better be happy waking up after having a fucking miserable day and getting up and doing it again and continuing to get on your grind. Yeah. You can't just be happy just because everything's going good.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of like, even like, Eli, you're in a business and like literally treading through and carving new pathways in it of a business that you fell into. Yeah. Right? But your lifestyle and your belief and how much your business fuels like your lifestyle in and of itself has allowed you to kind of grow with it, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's like being real about what the filters of looking at happiness or certain types of things are, or success, or all these things, because like you have to be in the trenches to be able to know what they are. I feel like a lot of people we get caught up in like what the thought of what you do on a daily basis is, what the thought of how sexy it may look like, to when somebody sees a picture of you at a house in Ojai, you know what I'm saying, grabbing a cucumber from the farm and having a little quailie like running next to you. You know what I mean? Horses in the background, right? But people in this day and age, it's such a digital world and such a show me instantaneously world, is that we just see, what we forget is that we see moments caught. But in that moment,
the best moments of the day caught.
But we all live a real life, right? And like, it's a quest, bro. That's the beauty of what this podcast is and what your journey is. And
that's what I love about what you're doing.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is beautiful. Like, it's wild because you and I knew each other in college, it's wild because we didn't really kick it like that in college, but we just had a genuine, just like cool relationship. And there was like the mailman scenario given. Right?
Yeah, that was a small piece of our friendship. For sure.
I don't bring that up to be like, fuck you.
I didn't even know you were thinking.
You know what? I'm
you,
leaving. No,
now,
fuck everybody. No, but like that's the beautiful thing about life, man, is that there's people like yourself that from the first time I met you and moving forward, like I had a genuine like for you as a human being, right? That doesn't mean that we always have to like stay in touch or all these different things. It's crazy how life works that I met Joe through like the band that I was working with. You and I like completely fucking pride, ego, lack of communication, gone. And I met Joe through that. And then Joe happened to really know you super well. But I would have fucking never known.
Yeah, no, when Joe said Anoush, I was like, which Anoush?
Wait, stop. What was funny was actually you and I were at a Laker game.
Yeah.
What was it, like earlier in the year? Maybe it was last year. We were at a Laker game, and and I'm telling you about the podcast, and I show you our artwork. And you're like, I'm like, yeah, my boy Anoush, and I show you. You're like, oh, I know Anoush, and then you went in to tell me the AT&T story. I texted you that night.
Yeah,
but no, it's funny how paths cross, and from seeing you, from being in the van days to, being, seeing your warehouse and seeing where your company is now and all the awesome things you're doing and growing. It's funny. It's like watching someone grow up. You don't see that they actually like are changing how they look, like, or that they got taller, or,
don't get taller, bro, please.
you don't actually see the people go through the changes when you see it, when you're living like side by side.
Yeah.
But when you talk about it now and you look back and be like, I'm shocked that it's been 10 years, dude.
Yeah, it's been 10 years.
It's
crazy.
And I think that's a testament to what it really means to grow a business. Like, there's no overnight stuff. And to that point of your business boomed in the very early stages.
Right.
That's when it really took off. And now 10 years later, it's still a very successful business.
Yeah.
It just shows you that there's no shortcuts to this. This is a long game. You have to build and you have to grow and you have to keep at it for a really fucking long time until one day you can look back with your homies and be like, wow, we came a really long way. But you don't necessarily feel it while you're going through it. You know what I mean?
Time flies, man. That's one big lesson in all this is, there were definitely moments that, I wish I cherished a little bit more. I mean, to your point, like 10 years. I mean, that flew by.
Yeah.
Flew by.
It's wild, man.
And that's what I think about now when I'm like, all right, you've been doing this for 10 years. Like, maybe it is a good time to like think about how to, balance your life a little bit more. You can't work this hard forever. I mean, I want to be doing what I'm doing, 10 years from now, but, really like work on like me as a person, because I feel like I've really like, given everything to the business for so long.
That's amazing.
That's incredible.
Anoush usually ends with this question, but I'll take it.
Yeah, take that, bro. Take that.
So what does success mean for you?
Is that the whole question?
That's it.
Okay, because it looked like there may have been more to the question.
Now that he did that, like, thanks for taking half the cake and giving it to this fucking guy.
That's a really good question. Success is subjective.
With that being said,
he's still gonna put a spin on it.
Well, it's Nooshi. I got that Nooshi spin.
It's Nooshi, but at the same time,
right, let's hear it.
This is also a part of the postcard. Like he wrote it, and then I added a little PS.
Okay, all right.
But like also with that being said, if there's something that you could tell either your younger self or like kids that are really looking to go into like the type of field that you are, or just kids that want to start something,
right?
What would you tell them, keeping that success in mind?
So I'm if you don't mind, I'm gonna make that two part. So we brushed on supersizing the business earlier, and like where there was obviously an opportunity for us to like grow faster than we did if we had money. What I will say is that I made decisions that I made because it was my first time around and I didn't know how things would play out, and it kind of felt like the right thing to do. What I would tell my younger self is that like when you see an opportunity to like just supersize something like that, you don't have to go to the extent where you give up, the majority of your company and, sell out and not worry about being profitable and all that stuff that, we're surrounded by in this world, but seize the moment. And I think that I was like, oh, I'm 21, 22, 23, doing all right. Got all the time in the world, already making money, whatever. Like, I wish I seized the moment a little bit more, because like you only get breaks like that every so often. So that's what I would tell my younger self, is like, when you have something good, like, go all the way. Got it. Because in fact, you talked about the advice that you got, which was that, he never had a fallback. Yeah. And I always like left room for a fallback, and I wish I didn't, because I was 22, and if like I could have afforded at that time to take risks that I can't take now as a married man and like trying to start a family, whatever.
Shout out to Bree.
Shout out to B. So I wish I would have gone like balls to the wall at that time. Yeah. What does success look like? Last night when I was having this conversation at the end of our trip, and I was like, I'm really excited for work tomorrow. Like I kept thinking about that thought for the rest of the night.
Fuck yeah.
And I came into that today, and like that was like still present. Like, to me, you have your days where you're like, fuck, I can't believe I'm still doing this. Yeah. Like, started this business 10 years ago. I was a teenager, and I'm still doing this. Like, I want to try other things. Like, I'm hungry to like learn more about the world and what else is out there. Yeah. But then, I have thoughts like that, and I'm like, that's success. Yeah. I love what I do so much that I want to leave paradise where I am right now.
Straight up and get to it.
And not ride my bike tomorrow to Ventura, which was also like an incredible thing. But I want to go to work. Yeah. And keep working on, keep building what we're building. And that's cool.
That's incredible.
So, not to say that like, I've reached the final point. I don't know what the final point is. I'm having fun doing what I'm doing, and and
I don't think the final point is necessary.
Yeah, I don't have net worth goals, I don't like when people talk like. Do you know what I mean? Though,
slap the shit out of that person,
but we know people with net worth goals.
Fuck.
That's not like what motivates me.
Well, it's just funny. Like, you ultimately, you just like, why just put a ceiling on anything? Like,
but also like what is the point?
Agreed.
One thing that I respect the shit out of David Dan about is that like he is like so humble and like really thinks about like sticking to his roots and like how how he can afford more than he has, and it doesn't change what he has, and I love that. But
that's the beauty, and that's the real beauty in living that.
Yes, right? That's not what makes him happy.
Because his story was living in a household where he saw his mother grind her ass off and support this family.
I know that. I was friends with them when we were
and then yours, it's dope because these like parallels that like aren't really in your control in a lot of ways. Right. Like, you're not gonna know that, struggling and living in Beverly Hills, but having a mom that you see as the workhorse and having two sisters, this, that, the other. But yours was travel, right? Yours was, you were living this life, but you were traveling and you were experiencing these things and you were being active, and that was a part of your lifestyle that you grew to love.
Totally.
You know what I mean? That's incredible.
And,
but
I mean, it's also, like having ideas too. It's like, I think so much of, when you talk about net worth goals, it's like, how do you put a net worth on like an idea or build, or like an idea or building something or inspiration or just, things that wakes you up in the morning. Like, how can you price that? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
it's beautiful though, man. And it's crazy because David touched on something like very similar.
No, it's true, and I think, people can get, especially now, can get very caught up in, starting a business, starting multiple businesses, the fantasy life of an entrepreneur, like whatever that lifestyle is on fucking Instagram. But yeah, I mean, I think what you said is so special.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No, thank you for coming on and sharing this story with us. This has been fucking beautiful.
It's my pleasure, man.
Excuse the curses there. You know what I'm saying? I try and like take them out of the vocab, but I needed to emphasize that in such a street thuggery way.
Yeah, you're such a non-cussery kind of guy. So
I'm definitely not I'm definitely a very cussery guy with the cutlery as well. You know what I mean?
But where can people connect with you?
Social media is probably the easiest. Yeah.
You on Twitter?
I am on Twitter, although I don't use it very often. At Eli Says.
Yeah, he logged in like August 23rd, 2013, and he says he doesn't use it very often. I feel I'm totally kidding.
Well, hit up Retrospec.
What's the most common form that you could be on?
Sure.
Instagram?
Instagram, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is it Eli Says as well?
It's Elyzo, Elyzo.
Dope.
Yeah, totally.
Dope.
Elizo.
Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Dude, you've been someone I wanted to have on for a while, and this was an amazing thing. And
Awesome
my
to do
brother.
this.
So
Yeah. And just know that we're going on this fucking bike trip, the paddleboarding
100%.
trip. Let's get it.
The whole thing.
Oh, we're documenting. We're making a video of this whole
We're
thing.
doing the first out of the office.
I
show.
would absolutely love that.
We'll
from
get
the
some
bottom of my heart.
GoPros.
Know that I love that.
Let's do it. Let's get some GoPros and do it.
I'm all about it, bro. Y'all want to see? Y'all just want to see a fucking gorilla like fall? Huh? I got it.
You got the dope cardio though, man. I'm not gonna lie,
Bro,
That P90X.
I'm about to start walking around this crib with no shirt on soon, just not giving a damn. You know what I mean?
So
Mama, we made it!